Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's video, we're diving into an emotional story about Tuna, a young mother who chooses to return to her farm after feeling unwanted in Alex's family. While Alex tries to bring her back, she insists on standing on her own. His mother believes his kindness is only pity, while his sister strongly opposes their relationship. Through love, misunderstanding, and sacrifice, this story shows the weight of pride, gratitude, and unspoken feelings. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next episodes. Tuna, burdened by guilt and Alex's sister's disapproval, decides to leave Alex's home and return to her farm with her child. The farm, quietly repaired by Alex during her absence, is filled with his care, making Tuna feel both grateful and uneasy. When Alex comes to persuade her to return, she refuses, believing her presence is a burden. Meanwhile, Alex's mother insists his feelings are only pity, but his sister believes he genuinely loves Tuna and disapproves. Torn between gratitude and pride, Tuna confronts Alex, demanding he leave and not come back. Though his heart aches, Alex respects her decision, vowing silently to wait until the right time to reveal his true feelings. The story closes with Tuna choosing independence, while Alex resolves to stand by quietly until she is ready to accept him and their possible future. The afternoon sun draped the countryside in soft gold, stretching shadows across the wide fields. A quiet breeze stirred the tall grass, carrying the scent of earth and the faint echo of animals in the distance. Tuna walked slowly along the dirt path, her small child nestled close against her chest. The baby's breathing was steady, soothing, like the rhythm of life itself. When the farm came into view, her steps faltered. It was the same place she had left behind, but something felt different. The ground, once uneven and dusty, was now smoothed over with fresh concrete. A few light bulbs hung overhead, glowing faintly even in the fading daylight, like misplaced stars waiting for the night. A sturdy new fan stood in the corner of the small room, silent yet ready, as though waiting for her return. Tuna's heart tightened as her eyes scanned every detail. She knew instantly who had done all this. Alex, the man whose smile always carried warmth, whose eyes seemed to hold words he never dared to say aloud. She laid her child down on a clean new mat, the fabric soft beneath her hands, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. This farm, her home, had been touched by kindness she had never asked for, but couldn't ignore. She whispered to her baby, her voice trembling with unspoken fear, "This is our home now." The words sounded certain, but her heart quivered. Gratitude pressed heavy on her chest, but alongside it came guilt, a creeping sense of debt she feared she could never repay. The child stirred softly, pulling her back to the present. She reached out and switched on the fan. A cool breeze brushed against her skin, momentarily easing the tension in her heart. But the relief was short-lived. The same question lingered like a shadow. Why had Alex done all this? Was it truly just kindness, or something deeper, something he hadn't spoken aloud? She shook her head, trying to push the thought away, but it clung stubbornly, whispering doubts she couldn't silence. As dusk settled, the farm transformed under the dim gray veil of evening. Tuna stood by the pig pen, her gaze following the sturdy piglets tumbling about. The pen was clean, far cleaner than she remembered, another trace of Alex's quiet care. She smiled faintly, but the smile quickly faded as a wave of unease washed over her. It was Alex who had arranged for the repairs. He had hired workers, fixed the floors, replaced the lights. Everything she saw bore the mark of his thoughtfulness. Her chest grew tight, weighed down by a kindness that felt too great. Looking at her sleeping child nearby, she murmured softly, "When you grow up, you must remember Uncle Alex's kindness. Without him, we wouldn't even have this." Her voice carried both gratitude and sorrow. She meant every word, but deep down, fear gnawed at her. Would she ever be able to repay him? Or would she always be a burden, just as Alex's sister believed? The memory of that sharp voice returned to her mind, reminding her she wasn't good enough, that Alex deserved better. Returning to the farm was supposed to be her way of proving herself, of showing she could stand on her own 2 feet. Yet in doing so, she also built a wall between herself and Alex. She didn't want to cling to his generosity, didn't want to weigh him down further. As she checked the animals, her eyes fell on a pregnant sow, its belly swollen, close to birthing. The sight was oddly familiar, a mirror of her own struggle, carrying life, carrying responsibility, all while facing the world alone. The newly installed light bulbs cast a warm glow on her face, but they couldn't chase away the darkness that lingered inside. She wondered if she would ever be enough to balance the weight of her gratitude and her fear. The night deepened. The soft hum of the new bulbs filled the air, mingling with the quiet rustle of animals. Tuna was adjusting the trough when hurried footsteps approached. She froze, her heart skipping. A moment later, Alex appeared, his face etched with worry, his voice trembling with urgency. "Tuna, why are you here?" His tone carried both anger and fear. He stepped closer, his eyes sweeping over her and the child in her arms. "Why didn't you tell me you were leaving? Do you know how dangerous it was to walk all this way with a baby so young?" Tuna lowered her head, unable to meet his gaze. "I'm sorry, Alex. I didn't want to trouble you anymore. Staying at your house, I felt like a burden." His expression softened for a moment, but worry still burned in his eyes. "Do you even understand what you put yourself through? What if something had happened on the road?" His words were sharp, but beneath them lay a trembling care that made her chest ache. She tried to explain, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm fine, Alex. I had to come back here, to work, to provide for my child. I can't always rely on you." But Alex shook his head, his voice rising with emotion. "It wasn't just you. The baby, too fragile for such a journey. How could you take that risk?" The words pierced her pride. She bit her lip, eyes stinging, then whispered, "Because I didn't want to weigh you down anymore." The air grew heavy with tension. Alex stood tall under the pale light, his figure both comforting and overwhelming. Tuna looked at her child, silently promising she would endure whatever it took. But inside, the pressure grew heavier, suffocating, as though her gratitude had turned into invisible chains binding her to Alex's kindness. Later, they sat together at the small dining table. The glow of the new bulbs cast long shadows between them. Alex's voice softened as he asked gently, "Did my sister say something to make you leave?" Tuna quickly shook her head. "No, everyone was kind to me." Her words were steady, but her heart trembled. She recounted her walk back to the farm, trying to sound strong, though inside she felt vulnerable and alone. Alex pressed further, his worry refusing to fade. "Do you know how worried we were? My mother couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop thinking about where you might have gone." His voice cracked slightly, revealing the depth of his care. Her heart ached. Gratitude welled up, but alongside it, guilt surged, colliding within her like rivers in a storm. She tried to reassure him, insisting she was fine, but her words did little to ease his concern. Later that night, Alex left briefly and returned with food, porridge rich with nutrients, prepared with quiet thoughtfulness. He urged her to eat, his care woven into every small gesture. They shared the meal in silence, the warm steam unable to thaw the tension between them. "Promise me," he said firmly as she put her child to bed. "If anything happens, you'll call me. No matter what, I'll come." Tuna forced a small smile, hiding the turmoil in her heart. "I will." But behind that smile, fear whispered. She worried she would never be able to repay him, never be more than a weight he carried out of duty. The light bulbs shone overhead, casting a bright glow across the room. But none of it reached the dark corners of her heart. There, gratitude and self-doubt clashed endlessly, like a moon caught in the endless pull of a shadowed sky. That same night, far away from the farm, Alex sat alone in his room. A dim lamp flickered beside him, its yellow glow falling on a pile of documents he had left untouched. He tried to read, tried to focus on the words before him, but his mind refused to cooperate. Every page blurred into the image of Tuna, her weary smile, her quiet strength, the way she held her child with such determination. But earlier that evening, his sister had cornered him. Her voice had been sharp, laced with disapproval. "Alex, tell me the truth," she pressed. "Do you actually have feelings for Tuna, or is this just pity?" He had hesitated, then forced the words out, his face carefully composed. "Just pity, nothing more." But the moment the words left his lips, he felt the sting of their lie. His sister didn't believe him anyway. Her eyes narrowed, her tone accusing. "She doesn't belong with us. You're blind if you can't see how mismatched this is. She has a child, Alex. Do you think you can shoulder that and still keep our family's name intact?" Her words lingered long after she left, circling in his mind like restless birds. He knew why she said them. She wanted to protect him, to preserve their family's image. But the truth was simpler and heavier. He cared for Tuna far beyond pity. He admired her strength, her quiet resilience, and the way she carried her hardships without complaint. He sighed, pushing the papers aside. He couldn't deny it to himself any longer. His heart had chosen, even if his family disapproved. Yet timing was everything. Right now, Tuna was fragile, uncertain of her place in his life, burdened by guilt and self-doubt. If he confessed too soon, she would retreat even further, building walls he might never break down. So he waited. He told himself, "Not now, not yet." He would protect her from the shadows, make sure she and her child were safe, and when the moment was right, he would tell her the truth. Until then, patience was his only ally. The farm, meanwhile, became Tuna's world again. The days grew long, filled with the steady rhythm of chores. She fed the animals, cleaned the pens, and tended to her child, who was beginning to smile more often, his tiny laughter echoing like bells through the quiet fields. Neighbors sometimes passed by, offering help or small words of kindness. They spoke of how the farm had changed, how new lights now shone in the evenings, how the pig pen was sturdier, how the air seemed lighter since she had returned. Tuna would nod politely, thanking them, but inside she knew it wasn't her doing. It was Alex's. His presence lingered in every improvement, a constant reminder she couldn't erase. And yet, Alex himself kept his distance. He visited now and then, bringing supplies, checking on the animals, sometimes holding the baby with a tenderness that made Tuna's heart ache. But he never pushed her, never asked her to come back to his home. He simply left with a gentle reminder, "If you need anything, call me." His restraint only deepened her confusion. Part of her wanted to lean on him, to let his strength carry her. But another part recoiled, afraid of dragging him into a life he didn't deserve. One afternoon, as the sky painted itself in hues of amber, Alex's mother paid a visit. She sat quietly with Tuna, watching the baby play with a small wooden toy. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. "You know, child, Alex doesn't feel what you think he does. He's just kind-hearted. He feels sorry for you, that's all." The words pierced deeper than the old woman intended. Tuna lowered her eyes, nodding, but inside, her heart twisted. Was that really all it was? Pity? Later that night, after Alex's mother left, Tuna sat outside, staring at the stars scattered across the sky. Her child slept soundly inside, the gentle hum of the fan keeping him cool. But her mind was restless. If Alex only pitied her, then what was she doing? Why was she allowing herself to rely on him, to accept his help, when deep down she wanted more? She clenched her fists, a sudden wave of frustration rising. It wasn't fair. Not to Alex, not to herself. His sister didn't want her in their family. His mother believed his care was nothing but sympathy. And she felt like a burden, no matter what she did. The next morning, Alex came again. He brought medicine for the animals and some food for her. His smile was gentle, but Tuna's heart was already heavy with the decision she had made. As he stepped into the yard, she confronted him, her voice sharper than she intended. "Why are you here again, Alex? Haven't you done enough already?" He froze, taken aback. "Tuna, I just wanted to help." "I don't need your help," she snapped, her voice cracking as tears welled in her eyes. "I'm not your responsibility. I don't want to owe you anything anymore." Alex's face fell, pain flickering in his eyes. "You're not a burden. You never were." But Tuna shook her head fiercely. "Don't lie to me. I know your sister doesn't want me near you. I know your mother thinks you only pity me. And maybe they're right. Maybe all of this." She gestured around the farm, her voice trembling. "Is nothing more than kindness. But I can't live like this, Alex. I won't." Her words sliced through the air, raw and heavy. For a long moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the distant cries of the animals. Finally, she turned away, her voice breaking as she whispered, "Please leave. Don't come back." Alex stood frozen, his heart shattering at her words. He wanted to argue, to tell her the truth, to lay bare the feelings he had locked away. But the look in her eyes, firm, unyielding, told him she wouldn't listen. Not now. So he swallowed his pain, nodded slowly, and stepped back. "All right, Tuna, I'll leave. But know this, I'll always be here if you need me, no matter what." With that, he walked away, each step heavier than the last. Tuna stood in the doorway, watching his figure disappear down the path, her chest tight with conflicting emotions. She had pushed him away, believing it was the right thing to do, for him, for herself, for her child. And yet, as the farm grew quiet again, tears slid silently down her cheeks. Alex, on the other hand, didn't look back. He knew she needed time, space to heal her doubts and fears. For now, he would respect her wishes. But deep inside, he made a silent vow. When the time was right, when the shadows of doubt had lifted, he would return. Not just to help her, but to finally tell her the truth his heart had been holding all along. Until then, he would wait. The farm lights glimmered faintly in the distance as night fell. And in that glow, both Tuna and Alex carried their unspoken hopes. Separate for now, but bound together by a future neither of them could yet name.